B-Bad and Brandon.
Privileged to be in a private meeting room with you guys.
Ooh, gee, that's a little.
Apparently, I'm in a private meeting room.
Yeah, it's pretty private.
I would maybe. It's very private.
It's very private. It's a safe space.
It is a safe space.
We can privately discuss everything we like for everybody to listen later.
How are you, mate?
Yep. I'm good. Very good, thank you. Just towards the end of a peak for the upcoming Capo meet next a week Sunday. So as I think where most people enjoying it, but kind of looking forward to it not being a peak for too much longer.
Yep. It's a tricky space, isn't it? You love it, but you start to hate it.
Yeah, anyway, sometimes let's get to this point and just regret, why the hell am I doing this? This is stupid. I got stuff to do. I'm too busy. And all the stuff that we have to juggle. But no, I'm good, man. I'm good.
You're in Mackay, yes?
I am in Mackay
Yes.
in North Queensland, Central Queensland. I think for people from Brisbane, it's north, but for people in North Queensland, it's central. But
right.
Who knows?
Anything past Nooth is north.
It's hot and sunny. Exactly, yeah. And anything past Noosa is like anyone in Australia just doesn't know anything. Is that like Cairns or something?
Yeah.
It's kind of generally how the conversation goes.
But you're not affected by any of the lockdowns or anything?
No, not at all. Mackay, life in Mackay the last 5 years has been interesting, good overall, but definitely interesting. We kind of definitely exist in a little bit of a bubble here. Like geographically, COVID hasn't really meant too much apart from you got to wait longer for furniture to come from New South Wales. That's about as impactful as it gets, really.
Sweet. And so did you say you've only been there for 5 years, bro?
Yeah, 5 years.
Yeah, sweet. What got you into Mackay?
Going to Mackay. Family. My wife's it's a bit of a long story, but I'll make it very short. My wife's from here originally. We were really fortunate enough to live pretty much all over the world. Lots of cool places. So we met in Sydney. So before that, I'd sort of been living in Sydney. I'm from the UK originally. Got to Australia, landed in Sydney, had about $400 to my name.
Wow.
Ever. And hot-footed, that was after quite some time in South America, hot-footed over to Perth, found a job, got set up. 6 months later, went back to Sydney, ended up getting sponsorship, stayed there. Had a couple of little stints here and there, a bit of traveling around, sort of Dubai and back to the UK a couple of times. Met Celise. Jesus, where are we? We're all over. We met. We ended up. We went for a honeymoon in Southeast Asia and ended up living in London for close on a year. I'm not quite sure how that happened. And then came back to Australia. Went over to Europe again, lived in Latvia for some time, sort of hung out with some Russians there. That was cool.
What was that like?
A little bit more time in London. That was amazing. Yeah, amazing. But a little bit more time in London. Back to Australia again. Had our first daughter. Back to Europe again. Lived in Copenhagen for a bit. That was awesome, but went... Where's the easiest place in the entire world to live and have good quality of life? It's Australia.
Yep.
So I came back to Australia after some time and went to Brisbane instead of the usual Sydney. A couple of years later, my second daughter came along and we went, yeah, this is too hard. It's just the four of us. So we moved to Mackay where my wife's family are. So
there you go.
That was 5-ish years ago. And here we are.
Damn, bro.
What?
So, yeah.
That's a fucking adventure.
Dude, how old are you?
It's 43.
I was like, oh, okay. Well, that explains like how you could fit all that into.
Fit some things in.
Yeah. I was like, I thought you were younger, so.
What? And if you don't mind me
Yeah.
asking, what were you doing for work through all that travel? Were you just kicking around doing different things, or were you specific in something, or?
Yeah, pretty cool stuff. It's just pretty much the earlier days what I do now, which is strength conditioning. So I think you guys know me, of course, through powerlifting as a powerlifting coach, but before coming to Mackay, I sort of worked predominantly as a strength conditioning coach. So I was working with Basketball Australia, Basketball Queensland in Brisbane for a couple of years out at the Queensland Academy of Sport as part of a state and then national performance program.
Nice.
So I was working with some really very good up and coming basketball players. Got to work with a woman at the time called Bridie Keane. She was the captain of the women's Paralympic team. That was pretty cool. Worked with a few other sort of Australian sort of representative athletes in sort of combat sports, track and field, this kind of thing. So, and then also now sort of also with that sort of working in field of rehabilitation. So yeah, in Denmark, I was working predominantly out of a rehab clinic. When I was a stint in London, I was working in Chelsea. So out of the biggest racket sports academy in Europe at the time. When I was over in Latvia, I was working as kind of like a consultant. There was like a health and wellness center there that was pretty cool. It was like had like everything ranging from an osteopath to trainers and coaches to medical doctors and this kind of stuff. So basically, my role there was primarily to help the coaches and trainers bridge the gap between rehabilitation and training, strength conditioning, but also kind of work with some of the medical doctors from a rehabilitation background and just sort of just broadening. So kind of got a little bit of a sports nutrition background too that I use now as well. So kind of just helping coordinate like medical staff, health and fitness and rehabilitation stuff all kind of coming together as a bit of and kind of overseeing sort of a rollout of a program that saw those three sort of bodies, I guess, kind of work more coherently together. And then teaching sort of rehabilitation concepts and strength conditioning work for the coaches there. And I've got a quote unquote functional medicine background, which doesn't really mean too much, just means I know what the adrenals do and stuff like that. So kind of working with, chatting with, discussing with, exchanging ideas with some of the medical staff there, just around sort of, I guess lifestyle factors that can really influence. And so, yeah, that's pretty cool. That's basically what I did in Latvia. So, yeah, I think that was a long answer to a basic question of what I was doing. I was doing my work, which is strength conditioning, nutrition, and rehab.
Yeah,
right.
Wow.
And
that's a bloody resume.
got lucky.
Got a strong resume.
Yeah.
What's it like liaising with like medical professionals, doctors with the DR in front of it, with your role there? What was that?
That was great. It was amazing because I guess it's a somewhat different perspective. So two of the doctors were, I guess, Soviet trained rather than Russian trained. So they're older. So it's really interesting just getting insight as to how they saw things like pathophysiology behind certain disease and that kind of thing, and how they went about addressing that through using, what we would call modern medicine, but also, just using sort of lifestyle factors, nutrition, sleep, psychology. Yeah, it's fascinating. Really, really fascinating. So it's like a nice little gelling of a number of different things, which is really interesting. And of course, the medical system is somewhat different. It's, I don't want to say better or worse. It's just different. Like there is it sounds very cliched and a bit kind of pink fluffy natural health community kind of like orientated, but it's they really sort of in my experience spent more time addressing the individual.
Nice.
Simply, I mean to be honest, I think part of that as well is that like in some countries like that, you don't get you don't get healthcare if you can't afford it. So there's that element as well of there is more time because people are actually paying good money for it.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Yeah, really, really interesting. I thought it was pretty cool, but yeah, like as with most things, horses for courses. It wouldn't work in Australia because appointments would run even later than they do in the medical system and take even longer.
It's just a very different sort, like as you said, different sort of system that we don't have that cohesion between modalities of doctors, allied health, and coaches. Like you just don't see that cohesion here, and if you do, it's very, very rare. So that's a really good initiative.
Yeah. It was great. It was fantastic. It's a sort of economically, socially, it's a very different location. So here in Australia, so that of course lends itself to different different networks, different relationships between professionals. It's but I like it. But yeah, I thought it was great. But I'm also not beating drums about the medical system's broken, it's terrible, blah, blah, and all that kind of stuff, because there are very real pressures here in Australia around that, which I think can make it tricky for that sort of seamless cohesion between professionals, which is unfortunate, but it's just sort of the reality of it. I think it's just the nature of the beast. Yeah.
And what's your background? So is it like, what do you study? Sorry, what's your education background?
A few things. Jack of all trades, maybe master of none. Who knows? Depending on your what you think. What is it? Exercise kinesiology. Studied that. I kind of went over to the UK and the States to study exercise kinesiology.
Yep.
Then strength conditioning is just some ASCA stuff. What else is there? Musculoskeletal therapy. So sort of spreads into all the soft tissue work. Sports, sports nutrition. So sports nutrition. What else is there? There's other stuff. There's nothing like big. I haven't got like a PhD or a master's or anything like this. It's just a lot of decent level stuff, like diploma, graduate diploma level stuff, sort of brought together. And is enough for what I do, basically.
Sounds like you've kind of
plus time, time and experience.
Yeah, I was going to say, sounds like you've kind of followed the path you've liked, and like, I like this course, a little bit of that, and I like this course, a little bit of that, and just create your own master's PhD of Gavin, I think.
maybe something like that. But it's there's a couple of conversations that really stand out that I've had over the last few years. So I spent about 5, 6 years teaching for an organization here in Australia that taught rehabilitation and strength conditioning to. So I was teaching sort of pretty much all over the country to osteos, physiotherapists, some chiropractors on the course, coaches, trainers, yada, yada, and kind of really trying to bridge the gap and build that cohesion that you kind of alluded to, Brandon, between sort of medical rehabilitation and quote unquote in the trenches training, strength conditioning, 6 o'clock in the morning with Mrs. Smith kind of thing, And it was interesting. I was sort of teaching one particular course in Melbourne, and one of the guys on the course, actually, it was Ben Cant, very well known coach. I think his focus is on biochemistry and physiology. He's extremely smart guy. Look him up, Ben Cant, C-A-N-T. Really smart guy. He actually asked me. He was on the course, and he said, how did you end up doing what you do? And I kind of thought about it. I went, I don't know. I just kind of ended up here. And that's pretty much what it was. And then just recently talking to a guy called Rob Grieve, who's he's come to Mackay this year. He's a youth basketball youth development officer. I guess you would call it officially. He's in charge of youth development in basketball here in Mackay and Central Queensland. He's doing a phenomenal job here. He said, we were talking about all that stuff, and he said, so what's with all the travel? Was it like a stepping stone for career? And I kind of, no, I just got to go and work in Latvia. So why would you say no? got to move to London. Just say yes. Why would you say no? So it was really sort of just pursuing travel and opportunities as they arose. And here I am at 43, trying to make some sense of it all and have organize it and arrange it and make sense of it. And from here, being a little bit more mature than I was back then, which was kind of like, hey, fuck, let's go to Russia. That's awesome. Let's try about next week. Awesome. But now at 43 with a couple of children, now sort of starting to get a little bit more, what's the word? Organized, planned, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So, but absolutely don't regret the last 20 years, that is. No regrets at all, really. Just kind of just led to where I'm now and picking things apart.
What was that travel aspect like as a part of that career that you've already had? That must have been an incredible adventure to see so many different parts of the world, bro.
I think it was fun. It was, is, and continue to be, fucking COVID permitting, fascinating. Fascinating. For me, having I have a lot of interests outside of what I do for work. So real interest in the language, really interested in history, geography, that kind of stuff. So it was, I started off leaving the UK and went to travel South America for quite a long time. Did extensive travel there, did some volunteer work in the Amazon for a few months, and looked after monkeys and pumas and stuff like this. So sort of there to the Middle East, to Eastern Europe, to where else? Spent a bit of time in Southeast Asia with my wife's family. My wife's half Malaysian. So we kind of discovered her family in Malaysia and Borneo. Sort of wherever I've traveled, I've sort of been really fortunate to travel, have mostly work opportunities, but also sort of an opportunity to really sort of immerse myself a lot more in some of the language, love languages, the history, the geography, just immerse myself in that culture, that country, and sort of really explore some of the other interests I have, such as the sociological aspects and why are people like this, and what's led them to be that way, and sort of having at least rudimentary sort of understanding of how some of those things came to be. It's been really cool being able to go to those places and see, I can see the influences, like in some things like architecture. You can see some of the architectural influences in the Baltic regions and where they've come from, and just little things like this, just little stuff you see day to day. So it's been fantastic, especially in the Middle East, in Dubai of all places. It's been there a couple of times on some for a few weeks here and there, and absolutely fascinating sort of melting pot of stuff there too.
So talking about the Middle East, there, like, is that the culture that has stood out for you most throughout your travel, or is that the one you've been able to take something away from and go, oh well, this is really special, I'm going to implement, or this is what the Western society is missing? Or
it's a very big question, Brandon.
I know. I thought of it then. I felt pretty smart, intelligent.
I'm afraid it's too intelligent a question for me right now. So I think probably Dubai was the most fascinating, simply because Arabic Middle Eastern culture is so different from anything that that all three of us have ever experienced. To be honest, that was very different. My favorite place in the world, I think, was probably Copenhagen. I lived there. I was in Denmark. Yeah. Overall, just really interesting. Just with a lot of Scandinavia sort of runs traditionally. Sort of governance is a stronger like social welfare system. So sort of at the time, I sort of was joking with a couple of guys I was working with there, Casper and Michael, about how Denmark was the last communist country in the West, because there's a strong sort of social welfare style of governance, which I'm not into. I'm very much every man for himself. You make your own luck. Test of fortitude, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But socially, it was fantastic because what it does do, and I'll preface it with this: what it does do for an outsider who lives there but isn't actually Danish, it creates a really really interesting social structure where, by and large, compared to say Australia, the biggest stress socially, which is money, is kind of removed.
Really?
So yeah, money and finances, from what I perceived anyway, is still a big thing. It's a stress, but because there is this knowing understanding that financially you will always be taken care of and have a good, at least a decent standard of living. It frees people up to study more. So education is quote unquote free. I think the extremely high tax rates in Scandinavia isn't really free, but it's free. Healthcare is free. Just paying in a different way. It all comes around. But yeah, socially in Copenhagen, I found it great. People just calmer, I would say more educated, so able to apply maybe more sort of logic and reasoning to just everyday scenarios. Generally less immediate, less of that, we'll call it survival stress. And so I found sort of socially Copenhagen was wonderful. People have time for each other, a time for us anyway. That's my perspective, like I said, but a time for us. Generally more helpful, generally more open to assisting where needed. There's more of a sense of community, which again comes from that sort of central government commune history, I think. But yeah, I think that was for me, that was sort of one thing that probably the thing where I kind of left and went, this would be really awesome to some of these qualities and traits and things that we've experienced, be able to bring that. It'd be great to bring that back to, say, Australia and implement that sort of where I live. So having time for people, creating, and without wanting to blow smoke up people's backsides with you two, what I've experienced from you guys, especially from you, Johnny, is very much that. In your gym, it's that strong sense of community, sense of belonging, sense of time for each other. These are the real sort of driving principles, rather than come in, smash the weight, and who's the strongest kind of thing, That's why anyone I've sort of referred to or said, if you're in Brisbane and you're near Fortitude Valley, go train at Johnny's place. I think recently you had one of my clients, Candice.
Yeah, that's right. She loved it.
Yeah, she was like, holy place, this place is amazing. I love it. And so, as much as that seems completely removed, Fortitude Barbell in Copenhagen, some of those social qualities have sort of really come through. And it kind of think, for me, it really sort of really is a good reminder to be nice, be friendly, be open, help where you can, which is easily lost when you're, like a lot of people in Australia, 43, 2 kids, running a business, run, fast. Go. Time is short. That kind of stuff. Anyhow, I'm not sure how I got there, but that's where we're at now.
We skipped over it, and I'm super curious to know about it. What is the Amazon rainforest like to live in for a few months?
It is amazing. It is, simply amazing.
Yeah,
it is amazing. geez, where do you start? It's just phenomenal. It is truly, I think it truly will make you or break you. Where I was, again, really sort of fortunate to be working in a national park where we sort of took animals that have been sort of rescued from illegal animal trade, rescuing people's homes because people keep pumas as pets, and then they grow up and they go, oh shit, it's a puma. That kind of thing.
Yeah, might bite you now.
It's nuts. It's just nuts. So yeah, it was probably, I think it was the first experience in my life, and that's when I've really first started traveling. It was like early 20s, 21-ish, something like that, maybe 22, where I really felt that sense of, this is really fucking hard work, but this is bigger than me. This is more important than me, Yeah. I think we all sort of, without getting too pink and fluffy again, we kind of, we all have those experiences. That was my first one there. I was like, yeah, this is really important for the animals, but also just for the people around the park. This was their life's mission. Like, they pretty much had grown up in a place called La Paz in Bolivia, which is like, at the time, and probably still is like one of, if not the, I probably won't be the, but definitely right up there with poorest places in the world to live. These people basically just sort of grown up in poverty, had gone to this tiny little village and then another half-hour trek to set up this animal refuge, and that was their life. Wow. That's just how they lived. So I had and it's when it rains, you get wet. When it stops raining, you're sweaty as hell and get attacked by mosquitoes and insects. You get butterflies, like I did, butterflies laying larvae on your foot, and 3 months later, gross wiggly things pop out of your skin and stuff like that.
Are you serious?
It's I'm serious. It was horrible.
You just look down your foot and some things are crawling out of it.
A thing, it was about like an inch long with reeling hooks either side of it. It was gross.
Fuck.
And that was after two rounds of going to random clinics in the middle of the fucking Andes, and getting, without anesthetic, I'll add, a foot cut open because it was just throbbing, painful. It was like a little weepy wound there, and go to these sort of little local clinics in the village, in the mountain, this kind of stuff, and there's no anesthetic, and they kind of basically get a scalpel, cut your foot open, dig around, try and find out what's going on, and like, oh, there's nothing there. Oh shit, that happened twice, and then a month after the second time, I had this wound in my foot that was real pussy and weepy and gross, and I was like, as you do when you're, I think, a male, you kind of squeeze in and see if you can get all the pussy shit out. And this was like after 3 months of every day waking up in agony. So I would wake up at maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. Wake up at 2 in the morning in absolute agony. Some days, I don't mind admitting, I'd have a few tears. It was that painful. It would last about an hour or so. That was every day for about 3 months. Got worse and worse and worse. One day afternoon, I was digging around in there, and I felt like, sounds gross. You get a really gross, like boily pimple. You start digging around, you feel all the gross shit moving around. It's like, oh, I want to get, something's happening. Dug in a bit harder, pushed a bit harder, and this thing popped out my skin, popped out of my foot, and like rolled onto the mattress my foot was on. And I was like, just went, oh, that's a live thing with wriggly hook things, and it's moving. Oh, gross. Oh, fuck. I don't know what to do. I'm in the middle of a Latin American country with reasonable Spanish, but not excellent.
Hell.
What do you do?
Did you
I just put I put a Band-Aid Band-Aid on the thing, put the bug in an empty water bottle, took it to the local hospital and said, oh, this came out of my foot. What do I do? And they kind of went, no, don't know. Have some antibiotics just in case. And you're right. I was like, and it was. And it wasn't until later. It wasn't until later I sort of found out these, it's a thing. So the pain every night was where this larvae thing, whatever the hell it was, it sort of laid on you. This huge butterfly lays this larvae and buries it under the skin, and buries under the skin of animals and stuff. So a lot of the animals have them, and so it buries under the skin, and it reaches a certain stage of maturity reasonably quickly. And then what happens? The pain is actually where it kind of works its way to the surface. And there's like a little sore, almost imagine like a sandfly bite. It's got that little kind of circly, almost like a hole looking thing on the top. It basically, apparently, so the locals were telling me, comes up to basically respirate and then wiggles back down. Apparently that's the story. And that's what the pain was, is the shifting around. I know, tell me about it. It was gross.
Man, that is nuts. Like, that is insane.
It's great. It was gross.
I am shook.
But I found out sort of later, I mean, down the track when I was in this sort of national park with doing all the volunteer work, I was talking to one of the local guys about it. He goes, oh yeah, it's Bora Bora, they caught it. And he said, yeah, what we do is when it gets to that stage where it like hurts every day, what you do, you kind of you basically light a cigarette, blow cigarette smoke. Well, this is what they did anyway. It seemed to work. Blow cigarette smoke onto it, and then cover it up with tape. And I don't know if there's any scientific basis for that, but that's what they did, and it seemed to get rid of them in days, not months. So I'd be down with that.
Wow!
Fuck!
Yeah, that's gross.
That literally sounds like a horror story to a movie or something. Like that. That's hectic.
But you know what? You know the nearest I've come to that? Bloody Mackay. It's hot, it's humid, there's weird bugs. Things grow on things. We're back in the tropics again. There's just snakes instead of snakes and stuff, and instead of monkeys and pumas. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, there you go. So there's the bug in the foot story.
Jesus, and now you're Mackay.
How do you? I want to just touch on it, because you said it earlier in the podcast that you just ended up in places. You just don't seem to have this or you may have previously developed it with having kids and a bit more, as you get on, but you don't seem to have that second guessing voice of, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? It just seems to be, let's go.
Yeah, I fucking love that.
Yeah, less so now. Back then, back then, but yeah, then absolutely. Like, why not? Why not have adventures? That's what I know. That's what we're here for. Have cool adventures.
Was that something that was always ingrained in you? Was that something that you developed as a young fella?
Geez, I know I'd always wanted to travel. So I'd always wanted to travel, go overseas, and I always wanted to go to South America, the Amazon. Like, even as a kid, one of my favorite things to read was the atlas on the bookshelf at home. So I was kind of just fascinated by the world, countries, travel, different cultures, what they did, what the capital cities were, and you're like 9 years old, and all the capital cities, all the countries, and which ones wanted to get, that kind of jazz. And so, I don't want to sort of harp on like it was fate or anything like this, but certainly it was like I want to go and see this, I want to see that, I want to see that. But then sort of, 18 came. So in England, like we kind of, the last year of your year 12 is basically our year 13, sort of 18. I sort of went to a very good school. It was like in the top 5% of schools in the country, sort of at the time, and all set to go to one of the better universities in the UK and stuff like this. And then, the last 2 years went completely off the rails, and did all sorts of stupid shit, and flunked everything, and remember sort of sitting home receiving my I think what you guys would call HSC results, just going. And I'm from a small town. I'm not like from a big city. I'm from a very, very small town, maybe 10,000 people in England. Sitting there in this small town, and as with most small towns, there's not a huge number of job prospects as you basically go and work for. Actually, at the time, bizarrely enough, given the recent sort of COVID stuff, we had a Pfizer branch building not too far away. So you either want to work for Pfizer or you work for the local customs in a place called Dover, which is like a big import-export sort of place for the UK. So I remember sitting there at sort of 18 at home, completely fucked up my exams, no hope, no future, and went, fuck. Shit. So I know more stories from that, but one thing led to another, got the opportunity to put some money in the bank and go overseas, and went, I'm done, I'm out, see you later. Yeah. This is now or never. There's definitely, so I guess there was somewhere that sort of now or never, let's do it kind of attitude that was definitely prompted and provoked by this desire to travel and see the world. And then that just kind of carried on through my 20s, carried on through to my my first daughter born? She's 11, so she's 32. Carried on through there. Even with my first daughter, we traveled with her. So she sort of she spent some time in the UK and a little bit of time in London, and she was with us when we were living in Copenhagen. And we came back with her in Brisbane, and then that was still there, but there was always this. But by then it was like mid-30s, a sense of, maybe we can't keep doing this because it just doesn't work so well with children. Then the second daughter came along, and that's sort of even after she came along, there's a bit of a delay of response of, okay, fuck, I've got to do something now. so it's still there, Brandon. It's absolutely still there, but it's also as Johnny will tell you, things change, and there's right now the desire for adventure and travel is still there, but it's sort of very much second seat to being grown up and responsible and planning things a bit more and stuff like that. Especially at 43, because at 43 I kind of go, what do I want to do at 50? Oh shit! So certainly not a midlife crisis, but definitely a midlife. Should probably start putting some roots down and making something now, rather than taking off and pursuing just pursuing adventure with who gives a fuck, let's go. So loved it then, wouldn't change it, but certainly not appropriate for where the priorities are now, basically. Yeah.
When did the passion for coaching and strength and conditioning come into play, bro?
When did it come in?
Were you playing sport as a kid as well back home?
I played sport. Played very good level of football, at soccer, semi-professional.
Yep.
There played like at the schools and stuff. It was a sort of a regular every year at sort of I guess what you would call here state trials for track and field, rugby, union, soccer. Always played a lot of sport, that kind of thing. So I think it was really when I came to Australia. Actually, after the time in Perth, came to Sydney, and looked around, and I think it was a time historically that was sort of when personal training, certainly in Sydney anyway, where this kind of stuff tends to happen more quickly than most places. So when personal training became a thing, like a natural, real career path.
Yep.
And I'd sort of always played sport, like sort of, the typical, 16, went to the gym, fell in love with the iron, all that kind of stuff, which is partly why I went off track for the last 2 years of school. So just training all the time, and was more interested in training and partying than anything else. Yeah, got to Sydney sort of back in the early 20s, looked around and went, because in England at that time, personal trainers weren't really a thing. It certainly wasn't a real career path, and looked around and went, people pay you for showing them how to train chest? Really? Fuck, get me some of that. And they pay you that much? I'm definitely getting some of that. And that was basically it. And then, you know, one thing led to another, and went into the coaching. But I think that I think a couple of traits that good coaches have is the desire for constant improvement, and the desire, as cliche as it sounds, the desire to help others get better, grow, whatever ending you want to put there. And I think sort of that's always been the case for me. Just really been interested in helping others where I can, because I think that's just probably a good thing to do. Helping others, and then really being interested in continual improvement for others, but also also myself, and just life in general. I think it's kind of part of the natural biology of things, of quote unquote evolution. You get better and grow, and better and grow, and better and grow, and better and grow. And if we all chip in, then everyone helps each other, then it's kind of a good thing, which sounds very pink and fluffy, but that's how it is for me. So I think I kind of, as far as the coaching is concerned, I literally fell into it. I just fell into it because prompted by the people pay you to train chest. What the fuck? No way. That seemed really stupid to me. It seems like, why would you pay someone to stand there and teach you how to train your legs properly? And then they pay you good money for it. I just couldn't compute, but hey, what the hell? Let's get me some of that. So I did. And then that was like of course, as you guys know, that's a really great environment for any potential wanting to help others, love the sense of continual improvement. That's what the environment is. So I think those qualities, those traits that I like, had the perfect like breeding ground to kind of come out. And then same as you guys, you kind of year after year, you get better, you start sort of having more of a coaching philosophy that you put together for yourself. You're influenced by others, and then all of a sudden it becomes less about PRs, more about did you get better? Which isn't necessarily PRs, as strange as that might sound to some. And I think you guys totally get that.
Yeah, I think that desire to just generally help someone really sets out the difference between a good and a great personal trainer, coach, fitness guru, whoever the title might be. That's what sets people apart. Definitely. And definitely their time in the profession as well.
It's for sure. And it's I what's that, Brandon?
It's the skin in the game, having that experience, having the trenches.
For sure. For sure. And look, don't get me wrong, I certainly don't want to sound all saintly or anything like that, because I'm totally fucking not. But I think as well, as part of the lesson, I think probably you guys have been there too, is you get to a certain point where you go, hang on, I need to temper some of this wanting to help a little bit, because you end up just running out of energy. It almost becomes like your greatest strength becomes your greatest weakness, where you give too much, you give more than you actually have, and then you start figuring out where some sort of sense of normalcy is, and you start figuring out where you're going to give, where you're not going to give too much, and so on and so forth. And you end up at a point where where you're able to give a lot, but without completely ruining yourself at the same time. So sort of strategic giving, shall we say, is kind of the point where I think we all end up at.
Yeah, 100%. And then on top of all of this, bro, you do find the time to push the edge and the envelope for your own training as well. How long have you been doing like heavy lifting, powerlifting style stuff for yourself?
About 5 years.
Yep.
So I started when I was 38.
Yep.
Yeah. So before that, like I said, so sport was just lots of sports. Found the gym like late teens, kept it going with sport. That was great. Did all my travel. And then sort of through 20s, 30s, 20s was just, I don't know. I was in my 20s. I lived in central Sydney, living the dream. I just wanted to get jacked and ripped and look amazing for the girls. And so that's what I pursued. And then sort of mid-ish 20s, 25, 26, 27, that's where I really sort of started veering off down the rehabilitation path a lot more.
Yeah, right.
And that's where that's really sort of came to the fore. And then I think completely overdid that, went too far the other way, and got too quote unquote functional, as in we're talking, 2000s function, 2008, 2010 functional, not functional that we know now. Went too far down that path and spent a really couple of years really hitting that hard. And at the end of 2 years, just went, I'm small, I'm weak, I'm broken. This is shit. I'm not doing this anymore. Learned the lesson, and just gym training. Had a couple of years through my sort of mid 30s where I kind of went vegetarian and body weight training for the win, just because of just wanted to see what it was like. This is kind of I sort of tend to do sometimes. Like, wonder what it's like to do that. Let's see. So went vegetarian for quite some time. Yep. Purely body weight, all the body weight calisthenic stuff. But again, that was more of a function of time, arriving back in Brisbane, second child on the way, busy, whatever. So that came Mackay, and then sort of started lifting weights again. Getting back into the gym, the training, that kind of stuff. And then it was about 38. I kind of went, really want to do something competitive. Like, again, I miss competing and being competitive and that whole sporting thing. Not that I'm sure powerlifting is a sport, dare I say, but we'll leave that conversation for another time. What is a sport? But anyway, regardless, like, went, hey, I'm going to the gym anyway. Let's just kind of get into this whole powerlifting and train for powerlifting and see where it ends up. That was like 38, and here I am, 43, and done pretty well. I've kind of got to the Arnold's in 2019. Got invited to the Arnold's in 2019. Did that. Cool. Won an old blokes Masters Nationals in 2018, Arnold's 2019. Had a kind of the Arnold was probably the best and worst experience of my life, because I loved it. It was amazing, but was completely the noob lifter who goes in and gets all excited on day one, while they're sitting around about 3 kilos under their usual training body weights. It's a 2-hour weigh-in. And getting completely stressed out by the manic energy all day, and then wakes up the next day when they got a lift and going, oh, I'm wasted. I'm so tired. And had the worst day of my entire life in powerlifting in front of the Arnold's crowd, which was really awesome. And after that, just went, yeah. Then basically just didn't compete really for a couple of years until this year, just because I know I got a little bit over it. I still wanted to still trained like a powerlifter would train, but just didn't really feel the urge, or I didn't feel the emotional need to compete. And then this year came and did the Capo comp with you guys down in May, which was the first time I actually competed, just to go and compete and have fun and enjoy it. rather than having, I've got to do this, I've got to get that, I've got to hit this number, I need to something, and have all this really high, intense, emotional sort of stupidity riding on the result of a bench press or a squat, which is stupid. So just enjoying lifting and loved that comp and went, yay, let's do this, let's have more fun. So, and what do you know? Less stress, less at stake. Lifting gets better. You get stronger. Go figure.
That was going to be my follow-up question. How do you
find
something like that?
So now, powerlifting for me now is a, hey, let's see where the limits are, as opposed to I've got to get this, got to get this. Let's just keep going to see what happens and not put any ceiling or cap on it. Just see where we end up.
Yep,
and it's kind of fun.
Fuck yeah. Pit, watching some training of yours, mate. Some PRs in the gym already. So next weekend we should see something.
Training's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Fucking exciting.
Yeah. I'm hoping. I have plans. I have big plans. Big plans for a 43-year-old 110 anyway.
Yeah. I think
it's all perspective.
43 is not that far away for me, but I think there's. Yeah, unfortunately, or fortunately. I mean, but I think, we call it aging lifter, right? Like, I always like to think at some point in time, things potentially start to slow down. But even at 43, you're still crushing it. Like, I look at people like yourself, Luke Polly's another good example. Someone cricking into their 40s, still progressing, still crushing it, still having fun with it. Like, I think that's, excellent because, you certainly train some younger people and they start thinking, I'm just going to do it for now. And then later I'm too old and I back it off. Well, I don't think you have to. Like, you can still on this thing.
You don't. Yeah, you don't have to at all. I think there's a couple of key things with this, just very, very quickly. I think one is, I go on about, I'm 43 and 43 is not old. Like, really, I know I'm not old, like old. Like, I got there's a local guy here, Simon Watkins. He's 61, still grinding out the squats and all that kind of stuff. That's awesome. That's great. But what I think with sort of getting older into that whole Masters 1 sort of category, for me, it hasn't really been like as much of a biological, physical slowdown. I think it's just an accumulation of responsibilities. So there's more at stake. Like, I don't recover enough. Why? Well, because if I really push the recovery as much as I could or wanted to, then that means less time with wife, daughters, work, etc., etc. So I think it's less, for me anyway, it's been less about, I'm getting to my 40s, that means things slow down. It's more about, I've got more responsibilities that are way more important, and therefore something's got to go, and that's just powerlifting recovery. So it's that, but also as well, I think if as you get a little bit older, you kind of you don't stress so much if you don't hit that weight in training. You kind of go with the flow. So we could open up a conversation, but we won't, about auto regulation. So one of my big things at the moment with training, I've been using it for since 2011 with athletes in what I call real sports, track and field, basketball. This kind of is velocity work, velocity-based training. So for me, I absolutely love it. I don't know why it's not taken up more in powerlifting communities. Just sort of everyone's okay with auto regulation, but put objective auto regulation. It's like, oh no, it doesn't. Oh, I'm not sure about that. It's like, it's just auto regulation, and it gives you immediate feedback. So regardless of whether you want velocity training or velocity based training, which isn't velocity training, or RPE or whatever the hell you like, or just going by feel, I think that sort of auto regulation process becomes more important at this sort of stage with more responsibilities and lack of recovery. Hey, Johnny.
Yeah, man, I could definitely say even in this part or leading into this section of fatherhood coming in, auto regulated training has been the thing, and absolutely removed any pressure to hit a number on a session itself. And then if I knew I had a number I wanted to hit, I ensured that it would usually mean I needed to put more time between the sessions so I could do that session because I couldn't do all the recovery, or there's too much external stress happening in life to allow me to do it as frequent as well. And as soon as I started auto-regulating,
For sure.
on the bar, man, fuck, it was way more fun.
Way more fun, yeah. It's way more fun. It gives you something else to think about and focus on. Which is, hey, how am I feeling? What am I doing? Intention, technique. All the stuff that we know actually makes you better. And I think with being involved with powerlifting, I mean, it's only 5 years, not a lifetime. I'm still a wee junior in terms of actual years in the sport. But just being a little bit older, a little bit more experienced, a little bit wiser, you don't get too caught up if a training session doesn't go to plan. It's like, well, I squatted 300 for a triple last week, 305 for a single this week felt really hard. Well, that's just because it felt hard today. It doesn't mean that I got weaker, because you can't. It just defies all logic and defies everything that we know about the training process, not just powerlifting. So I think there's less sort of less emotional ups and downs, a lot less, which makes it all easier as well. Yeah, for sure.
It's fucking fun, bro. I love walking into the gym. I know I want to squat.
Yeah, it does.
And I'm like, oh, shoulder's a bit dicky. Cool. So that'll dictate what type of squat. I'm going to do a safety bar. Today I feel a bit sporting, so I might do some sixes, because I like the idea of doing some high volume. And I'll just work up until 4 sets of 6 feels about right. And then if I'm fucking feeling a bit cooked, it's probably 2 plates. Feeling good, it might be 4. And then we're done. Then smash some accessories and go home. It's a fucking great way to train. I love it.
It is. And the risk of getting all study and review-ish, there's a lot of and growing body of actual sort of research showing auto-regulated programs overall tend to start delivering better results. I've seen a lot. I mean, people argue the case depending on what their ideas are. A lot of the time. So, my idea is I like auto regulation, like velocity-based training. So I'm going to make the argument that I think that's the best way. But generally, sort of taking a step back, trying to get as objective as you can, start looking at auto-regulated work, however that pans out. And I think there's some better auto-regulation methods than others. But I've seen a lot of really good, concise information being presented showing how, auto-regulation tends to deliver better results, whether that's purely through the training process or whether that's more sort of tapping more into psychology as well, is another aspect, which is, again, conversation for another day. But for a multiple reasons, it seems auto-regulation, from what I've seen, sort of in the bigger sort of global sort of sphere, but also with my own work over the years now, seems to deliver better results.
Fucking love it, bro. Mate, what we like to do towards the end here, bro, is hit you with 10 big questions. Rapid fire, first thing in mind, incredibly random all over.
I don't do rapid. Have you listened to the last hour? I don't do rapid fire. I do long convoluted.
Hey, well, we will also take long convoluted.
Go for it.
What fear would you like to overcome?
Fear of not making it.
Yeah. Now, this is a big question. It's quite long. Your best friend has just been kidnapped. Now, I want to assure you that your best friend is okay as long as you deliver the ransom money you have. Now, you have this ransom money. The drive is approximately 1 hour away, staying at the speed limit, being nice and safe, because you know your friend will be okay as long as you deliver that money. Now, will you be listening to music on that drive, and what will it be?
Will I be listening to music? I'll probably be listening to a podcast. No, I won't be listening to music. I'll be listening to a podcast.
Nice. What did you think you would do when you left school?
What did I think I would do? I had aspirations to be a lawyer, vaguely in the background. But once it actually happened, I thought I was just going to be a bum.
Yep. Nice. What makes you grumpy?
Dickheads.
Yes.
Dickheads and stupid.
What are you watching on Netflix right now?
Dickheads and stupid things. Nothing. Don't watch Netflix. Don't have a TV at home. We don't watch TV. So I don't know. I don't even know what's on Netflix.
What is a Netflix? I love it. What's your most proud moment?
My most proud moment was, well, I'm going to change the question. My moments are when I get feedback from my daughters that I'm doing a good job as a dad.
Yeah, damn. I like that. That's a good one. Now, if you own a boat now, that's okay as well. But if you were to own a boat, what would you call it?
Given my lack of affinity to the sea and ocean, I'd probably call it the Puke-mobile.
Who is the messiest person you know?
Messiest person I know, geez. I don't know. I don't know. I don't really tend to associate with messy people very much. Probably me. I got messy. I got a messy mind. There you go. I got a really messy mind and I got a really messy workflow. Me, absolutely me.
Now, you've done a lot of traveling, seen a lot of things, done a lot of things. So this will be a good one. What is the worst smell you have ever smelled? Oof.
Oh, geez. Really poorly / never maintained sewers.
Yeah, you've probably seen some of them. Man,
no sewer maintenance, 38 degrees, hot as hell, humid. You've never experienced anything like it.
Fuck.
That's gross.
Yeah, it's not. It's I can't even describe it, because describing it would link it to something that you could imagine Australia, and you just can't.
Yeah, right. Mate,
it's all encompassing, all reaching.
Mate, that's the 10 questions. We can't thank you enough for giving up your time this morning.
Thank you, sir.
We really appreciate you coming on board. Now, please give yourself a shout out.
Thank you guys enough.
Find you.
On Facebook and Instagram is just my name, Gavin Heward, Gavin Heward for dog. Instagram, Facebook, just my name. Website is www.healthandperformance, the word and, not the symbol, healthandperformance.com.au.
Awesome, mate. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Love it, bro. Look forward to catching up next week.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll catch you.
Can't wait to see you both there.
Sick.
See you, brother.
It's been awesome. Thanks so much. See ya.